the front door of the defendant's home.
Yes, ma'am.
Do those photos fairly and accurately depict the front door as it was on November 20th?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you describe what we see in the photograph in regard to the door and what you recollect from being there present?
Yes, ma'am. So if you see this right here, it appears, let me get it angled, there you go. It appears that it's some type of door stop. They can be relatively easy found on Amazon, different places. And their design is to go underneath the door handle and to prop themselves up against the floor to cause some type of friction point to make it more difficult to open the door. You also see
From the outside?
From the outside, yes. It's generally done on the inside to prevent, the door to being forced up rather easily. There's also a doorknob right there, which is kind of hard to see because of the darkness in the photo. And then there's a deadbolt up above it. And the chair over there and the block is consistent with what I remember from that day.
So that door stop is something that can be taken down?
It can be, yes, ma'am. It's basically just wedged up underneath the door the doorknob and an anchor point on the floor.
And Exhibit 178.
So again, you see the door. There's several names for it, but essentially it's just a wedge underneath the door handle, and then you have this deadbolt lock that looks to be some type that goes with the door, and then up higher you see an additional deadbolt that looks like it may have been installed sometime later on, but it doesn't appear because it's a different color. But if you look, there's 1, 2, 3, and then with the four types of locks, if you will, to prevent the door from being open.
I think this is huge for prosecutors, okay? So basically, yeah, you can't get in from the outside, but if you take down the wedge and you undo the deadbolts, you can get in and out of that door. That's the testimony of the detective. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae, who joins us live from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Also with us tonight, the attorney who represented Jodi Arias, but as I always say, he hates her more than you do, folks. Kirk Nurmi is with us as well. Great to have you both here. All right, Julia Janae, am I reading this correctly? That this witness, this detective who was in the house, basically said, yeah, you can unlock that front door.
This was Detective Noiseworthy coming to the stand again to talk about that specific door that we heard so much about yesterday. And he didn't show us any pictures of that door open. He didn't say the words, open the door. But based on how he was asked those questions by the prosecutor, it sounds like it would not have been difficult to open that door if you are familiar with it. Remember, this is the defendant's home before his girlfriend and her children moved in. He already had lived in this older type home with a lot of hardwood floors and creaky floors, is the way that the family that lived there talked about it, because they said they would have heard something if the defendant crept out and crept back in at night. Remember, the prosecution is saying that it's around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning that someone would have had to go and get the car with the bodies in it and take it to the field at Rosetown Road when the people there heard those explosions. But there's no footage. There's surveillance video of the back door of this home, and that's where Christian Martin is seen around 11:43 at night, 11:44 at night, just going to his back porch, then going back in the house, coming back out again to the patio and going in the house. But he is not seen leaving the premises, but there is no camera at the front door.
Exactly. And I mean, it's his house. He knows what cameras exist and what cameras don't exist, right?
He would have to. He has said that, and they turned over that footage, or tried to turn over that footage to authorities to let them know, we're giving you everything. That's what we heard from Laura Spencer on the stand yesterday. Today, she is sitting there behind her fiance with her children, supporting him in the gallery.
Yeah, and that's not lost on the jury, the fact that they're still there supporting him. But Kirk Nermy, you know, you've got an alibi witness. You've got this video that you want to use to try to prove that, no, I couldn't have left the house. I didn't. Here's the video of me kind of fiddling around a little bit. But the bottom line here is that it didn't look like it was that difficult to get out of the front door if he wanted to.
Well, Vinny, I would have to dispute that a little bit. I think you're taking a leap of faith. And I think what we're seeing here is the state really on the defense. The state is realizing they've stepped in it the way they started this case. And ultimately, if you listen to the deputy, to me, what he's saying is, okay, there's all these devices in there to prevent intrusion, but he doesn't speak to how difficult it is to open without those devices. As Julia said, he doesn't open the door and show us how difficult or easy it is to open. And he doesn't talk about the noise involved in any of that. So to me, it's just conjecture saying, well, really listen, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's possible he could have done this. So forget about all that other stuff. Forget about all that alibi stuff. And I'm not sure how far that's going to go with the jury.
Wait, Kirk, are we arguing about how difficult it is to open a door once you unlock it? Right? I mean, let me throw this at you, Kirk. If in fact this door was so solidly shut, why would you have to put the doorstop there? The doorstop there is to keep it from opening. So once you take the doorstop away and you unlock it, then you can open the door. Otherwise, if the door is just inevitably stuck, right, you wouldn't need to put the doorstop there. You wouldn't need to lock it with the 3 deadbolts.
Well, I think that's a fair point, Vinny, but we've heard from the family members saying, you know, it's an old creaky house, that doors never open. There's nothing that says, you know, they did it. They didn't have those measures in place. And we've also have this figure, right? We have this threatening ex-wife figure. They say maybe it makes the wife feel better having these extra security measures at the door. I think it's easily explainable under those circumstances.
All right, there was some more important testimony today from Marlene LaRock, a neighbor of the Phillips. Let's take a listen.
And then she asked me if I had seen Cal that day. And I said I had gone up to see Cal, but I never saw him. I said, and your house was open. And she says, open? I said, yeah, your front door was open, but he never came to the door. And she said, okay. She said she had asked the next door neighbor to go look for Cal in the back because she thought maybe he had fallen or something, because his keys and his wallet, she said, were still laying on the table. And so she thought maybe something had happened to him in the back.
So she had asked the neighbor to go look for Cal
right
in the back?
I didn't know his name at that time. She just said neighbor.
That asked him to go out and back and
Look for Cal, yes.
Okay, so you kept on in the conversation. What else happened?
And then all of a sudden she says, hold on, don't hang up. I think I see something. And so I held on. Then all of a sudden I heard this scream. It was like a scream of somebody got startled. You know, like you run over a mouse or something. It wasn't a blood-curdling scream. And then it was pure silence, nothing.
All right, Julie J., put some more context around this, because it sounds like she's walking into the scene of perhaps seeing dead bodies. I think that's what we're all going to take away from this. This neighbor actually goes to the house at some point, right? I mean, she could have been killed.
She does. Marlene LaRock really explains how panicked Pam Phillips must have been in these moments. Her husband isn't answering the phone. He was supposed to be at home to accept a delivery of a washing machine. She had been calling him all day. She called a neighbor, Ed Donzero, to go and check on her husband. And now at 5:30, she's off work and she is going into the home to see what's going on. You heard the friend there, LaRock, saying that she heard a scream. And about 30 minutes later, she goes to the house because she can't get her friend back on the phone. And what she finds is the door is wide open and the car of Pam Phillips is backed in. She calls out, she doesn't get an answer. She doesn't say that she goes into the home, but she's just trying to figure out what's going on. She eventually goes home and comes back an hour later with her daughter, checks it out again. Now the door is closed to the house and Pamela's car is turned around a different way, still in the driveway. So very likely, the prosecution isn't getting definitive about this. They weren't definitive about it in their opening statements, but it sounds like the killer is inside and has been that entire time and is still making moves inside that house during that time.
Okay, so we're saying at that time. How does that time jive with the alibi of the defendant and the timeline of where we know he is?
Well, remember, he is just across the street, and we have his family. They're not there the entire day. His kids came home from school, but then they left out for a church group. So there are some pockets of time that he is home from work, which he came home or he logged off from the Army base at around 3 o'clock that day. And this call that we're hearing about is 5:30. So there's this 2.5-hour gap where they are alleging if he is in fact the killer, which we know the prosecution says he either did it or he had an accomplice, he would have to then be there and then be back at his home by around 7:30 is when most of his family confirmed he is definitely at the house, and the surveillance video backs that up.
All right. Kirk, let me ask you, if in fact somebody else did this, I would think that Marlene LaRocque would have seen a strange vehicle there. I mean, it's much easier for a neighbor to walk over and commit a murder versus someone who's got to drive over and you got to park that car somewhere.
Right, you're spot on, Vinny. That's completely true. But again, what does that open the door to? It opens the door to the possibility that he did this crime. Does it mean he did? Is it proof? All we have now is possibility, potential, timelines, everything else. But is there any real evidence that he did it? Or in this person that he conspired with? Who is this person? What is the state advancing in regard to this complicity, this conspiracy to commit this murder? We've heard nothing of that sort.
Julia Janae, you know, Kirk is always making good points. That's why I bring him on. It's frustrating sometimes as a former prosecutor to have Kirk Nurmi on, but he's here tonight. Let me ask you, Julia Janae, about the other people who may be involved here. Have they named any names? Have they pointed the finger at anyone? If there's complicity, who is he complicit with?
The prosecution has not named any names. They have not brought in any evidence of an accomplice, of someone the defendant was working with. We even know that they got a dump of information from his phone, but they have not put up any information about who he may have been conspiring with. They do not have to prove the person as far as the way that they've charged this case. They just have to show that he was complicit in some way, that he facilitated these murders. But I will tell you who has brought up names, and that's the defense. Even today, through that neighbor, Marlene LaRocque, they tried to ask her if she was or had some misgivings about the victim's relationship with the defendant's ex-wife, Joan Harmon. But there was an objection, a sidebar, and the defense could not continue that line of questioning.
Wow. What a case, what a trial. There's you know, each day there's, unfortunately, I think for prosecutors, more questions than answers. We'll see if they can tie it all together as the case continues. Julie Janae in Kentucky for us tonight. Thank you so much. Kirk Nurmi is going to stay with us.